Welcome back to Believe in Your Fairy Tale to make your Zing come true. Showing you how to make your own fairy tale come true or how to make the fairy tales of others come true. Now, back to your hosts, Debbie Glickman and Deanna Cohen.
What a great day of giving.
Right?
I mean, truly.
I love shows like that.
I know. And then, of course, our next guest, I mean, talk about like having to be in the place and time to give to her son.
Right?
And, you know,
I know, this is a great story.
I mean, truly, the Sharon, are you there? Will you please pronounce
I am. Good morning.
Your last name for us, Sharon?
Gnatt Epel.
Gnatt Epel. Okay, that's easy.
It's great. It sounds very exact.
I know. And Sharon is the creator of La Isha, la-isha.com. It's a timeless beauty through healthy alternatives. And, you know, as you're reading about her bio, I mean, this woman has probably not slept much in her life because she not only has she's a former concert pianist and graduate of Juilliard, which is so very, very cool. She also has additional degrees from the University of Georgia State, American College of Nutrition, and MIT. And she works with these essential oil therapy. And so let's just jump right to it, Sharon. Your son was on this, what was supposed to be an amazing trip to the rainforest. And so why don't you just share with us and our listeners how this whole story unfolded?
Sure. This was every mom's worst nightmare. I sent my son for a summer rainforest expedition camp in Costa Rica, and he had been there for about a week when I got a call from the camp telling me that he had a little accident. And it turned out that they had been water rafting, and while they were on the river, unbeknownst to them, there had been runoff from a local fruit plantation, and they had been using an agricultural chemical called paraquat. And it's been banned pretty much everywhere on the planet. But these guys were using it illegally, and because there had been a torrential downpour the night before, all the runoff from the plantation went into this river that these kids were on. And the chemical itself sits on top of the water surface. You really can't see it. It's kind of like an invisible oil slick. And so everywhere my son's skin came in contact with the water and these slicks, within about 2 hours he developed very small blisters. And I have pictures of them on the website if you want to see them. They're not pleasant.
No.
And have you seen them?
Yes, I sure have.
Yeah, nasty. And then within 6 hours, they grew to such proportions that they hung off the sides of his hands. He also had that on other parts of his body. So we tried to figure out what to do at that point, which, of course, you know, is really difficult when you're not even in the same country. And they took my son to a doctor who cut off the blisters at that point and put traditional burn therapy ointment on it and put him on a plane and sent him home. So I had conferred with about 5 different doctors before Aaron arrived back at DIA, and the consensus was that he would have very severe scarring and he would have dexterity issues because the scar tissue, as you know, doesn't stretch. It's not very flexible, and so it would impede his movement with his fingers. So one of the doctors, unbeknownst to me, had been an Army doc for 30 years, and he took one look at this injury, and he knew exactly what it was. And he recommended that we try something called clinical essential oil therapy, which I had never heard of before. And I had done medical research for the previous 15 years, but that one eluded me. And since my son was 17 at that point, he was able to participate in the decision process, and we decided that since we knew what the outcome would likely be with traditional burn therapy, we would opt for this clinical essential oil stuff. And the results were absolutely amazing. So in under 4 months, not only did the wounds heal completely, but he didn't have as much as a single scar, not even a discoloration. And at that point, I was 52 years old. feeling that I was aging very rapidly, suffering from sun damage. And of course, my mind was going to, gee, I wonder if anybody ever thought of putting this stuff in skincare for women. And that was how the idea was born.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, I hate that your son had to suffer and you as a mother. I mean, Debbie and I are both moms. I couldn't imagine, sending my son to this amazing experience and having to, bring him back with such terrible wounds and not knowing what to do. And right, most people think, okay, traditional medical, therapy is the way to go. This doctor that you mentioned, this had been his study of his interest for a while, these medical grade essential oils, and he had been working on it for burn victims. Is that correct?
Not really. Not really. I mean, he had some experience with it. My understanding is with veterans who came back from the Gulf War originally, and they were exposed to things like Agent Orange. So he had seen these types of blisters. I don't believe he had ever dealt with it for this particular type of chemical-induced burn. But he knew his stuff, and he's an integrative doctor. So that means that he combines Eastern and Western medicine and all kinds of other modalities. And I didn't even realize how heavily involved he was in the clinical essential oil community. And I went back and studied with him afterwards. So he's just an amazing human being, and he has since left practice and devoting himself to research.
And when it comes to, look, we could go to not Walgreens maybe, but for sure Whole Foods, and I can, take those little vials of essential oils and use them by the recommendation of so-and-so and such and such. What's the difference between what you're talking about, this medical grade essential oil, and something that you can just get over the counter at Whole Foods?
Yeah, that's a great question. The difference is that we're dealing with a very different grade of oil. We're dealing with a therapeutic grade oil. And most of the essential oils that are carried by health food stores can help with some forms of aromatherapy, that we're all familiar with. Things that if you go, for example, to a spa, you'll have some aromatherapy sprayed in the room, and that will help you to relax and feel good. This is a little bit different. This goes beyond something that just smells good. These are special grade oils that are generally in the top 1% of all essential oils that are produced all over the world. They're very pricey, and there's a reason for it. They are pure, they're unadulterated, and the purity goes back even to the seeds that are used to plant these crops. And the soil is monitored very carefully. The harvesting is done in a very, very particular way. And lavender is not lavender is not lavender. Lavender that is grown in certain parts of the world are more potent than in other parts. And the way that the lavender is grown, the geography, all of this comes into play in creating a very, very specialized oil. So it's not exactly the same kind of thing that you can find in your local health food store. It's really a whole different animal.
So let me ask you this: the stuff that you can find in the health food store, and for example, I actually make aromatherapy products for little kids, to help. It's more of like a placebo type product, but I do have natural floral extracts in my products, which, for my Sweet Dream Spray, I have a lavender floral extract that is in my product. And so, I know that it is, probably a watered down floral extract, and it's not a medicinal, but the actual aromatherapy of lavender does help calm you, right? I mean, we're
absolutely
talking about things that you are putting on your skin that you're looking for the medicinal effects of a pure essential oil that is designed to heal parts of your skin, right?
Right. And clinical essential oil therapy, in fact, aromatherapy has several different components too. There's an English school and a French school. And when it comes to using these oils actually for healing, there are various ways that they they can be used. Some of them are inhaled. Some of them can be applied directly to the skin. And I do want to caution everybody not to just go out and find oils and put them on your skin, because most essential oils really do need to be diluted before you can do that. So watered down is an interesting term. I wouldn't quite call it watered down, but
yeah, right.
they do need to be diluted. In a carrier oil. Yeah.
Right.
And so Sharon, so let's just jump forward. So here your son was healed from this unbelievable essential oil, and then you said, "Aha! I live in the dry climate of Denver, Colorado. Maybe there is a way." So in about a minute or so before we go to break, could you just fill us in on the first steps that you went through to say, okay, I'm going to make this a business?
Well, I had to go back to school first and study, and then it took a lot of experimenting just to figure out how to make these preparations myself. And so I did them for myself, and then when friends started to notice a difference in my skin, I figured I had something going there because they were requesting to be testers.
And how many years did you actually spend in school for this before you decided to make it a business?
Well, there was a lot of research, and I would say it was about 1.5 years of research before I decided to start learning how to formulate.
And come back from break, what I'm sure Debbie and I both are dying to know. I mean, I've used the product, one of the products on my chest, and it is truly amazing that, if you are in the sun and you are, at the end of the night going to put some of the La Isha oil on your chest, the next day it's smooth and it's not,
freckly.
Well, I don't know about freckles.
Peeling. Doesn't peel.
It doesn't peel. So when we come back, I want to hear a little bit more about this wonderful.
Going to, sit in the sun, which I know I'm not supposed to do. When you live in Chicago, you need that.
Sharon will fill us in on this.
Hey, guys.
New business and.
Happily ever after? Can it happen to you? Yes. We'll be right back with more